I'm Jo, I'm a supervising social worker for the fostering service with Leicester City Council. This is my 14th year. Prior to that, I worked in the leaving care team for 10 years, which was in a support role. And then I became a social worker 3 years ago through the social work apprenticeship scheme funded by Leicester City Council. And then I worked in the child in need team or child protection team, and now I'm in the fostering team. So all roads have kind of led to this role. My role within the child in need team was predominantly child protection and safeguarding families that needed the additional support within the city. So going out and completing child in need reports, child protection conferences, child protection meetings, assessing risk and any additional support that those families needed, whether that's finances, housing, mental health support. All those were put in place to ensure that the safety of the children was at the forefront of everything we did. It was a challenging role. It was a very steep learning curve, one that was enjoyable, stressful, challenging, but I learned a lot about myself in that role. So now I'm in fostering, which comes again with challenges of all social work does. But I feel like fostering suits my long-term skill set better, building relationships with foster carers over a period of time rather than short intervention. Being a supervising social worker is very different to being the child social worker. The reason we have a social worker for the foster carer is that the demands are very different. It's essentially an advocacy role so that the foster carer gets the support that they need alongside the child, because they have very, very different needs. So I will go in and make sure that they've got all the equipment they need for a child when they're going to be having a placement. We call it a placement because that placement could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a year, it could be lots and lots of years down the line. It just depends on the child's care plan and what the history is for that child and what's going to happen in the future, which is essentially controlled and decided and assessed by the child in need team. So we just make sure that the foster carer has what they need. They're up to date with all their training so that they can be the best foster carer they can be, trauma informed, and understand what a child needs in terms of their communication style with a child, which is very, very different to perhaps their own children that they've had or their other family members. So it's all about tailoring their communication, and we support, as a supervising social worker, I can support the foster carers with that. They've already been through a process, foster carers, around standards, their standard in their home environment, their standards of their training, and they have standards to meet throughout the year, and then they have a review every year to see if they are being upheld. So that's kind of that formal process, but then I go in to start building that relationship, and the key to that relationship is communication. Foster carers are required to deliver information and updates about the child at various meetings. They are required to do regular recordings about the child, which is essential if there are proceedings happening with the child in the court arena. So all of those updated, if there is a very small child in their care, constant recordings about the child from the foster carer is really, really important when we're in those arenas. As a social worker, the communication is key. Updating foster carers and checking in with foster carers is really, really important. It's an honour to know so much about foster carers' lives that perhaps they wouldn't even share with their nearest family members or friends, and I know that information, And it is a privilege to know that information, and I have to be really, really mindful that it's precious information, and that power imbalance as well between myself and the foster carer has to be carefully pitched, because not only am I balancing the needs of the foster carer, I'm also balancing the needs of the child, and I'm also balancing the needs of the local authorities' needs to get children placed. So there's the triangle of trying to balance everything, and that can be really, really difficult. I am the foster carer's social worker, and then running alongside the child who's placed with the foster carers has their own social worker too, a children's social worker. We work very closely together to ensure that care planning and the needs of the child are met. We always kind of have the looked after child reviews, any child in need meetings, foster carers attend and give feedback to. It's really important that we communicate outside of those meetings as well, either that through on the phone or through emails, especially just around care planning and any legal statuses that have changed for that child. Joint visits with the childcare social worker can be really, really useful because it shows that we're working together, and the foster carer can see that we are a united front and that we want the best for everybody involved with this child, including the foster carer themselves. I think those joint visits are really, really nice. They're really, really insightful to how everyone practices very differently. But I think working together with the foster carer is essential for moving forward with communication, and then the foster carer can feel that they not only have to come to me for anything, but the difference is that they can go to with any queries around the child directly to the social worker too. I think the more supported a foster carer feels, the more able they feel to express what they need, feel like they are listened to, the better foster carer they're going to be to the children in their care, in their home. Nobody likes to be overlooked, and nobody likes to feel that they're not being listened to. So essentially, sometimes I can call a foster carer, and sometimes there's not a lot that they need other than just to kind of let off some steam, and that would be to offload that they've had a really bad day, offload that a child has scribbled on the wall or had a bad report at school, or they've had to go and get that child from school. Sometimes it's external things that are wider from social work, so in terms of education or health, that can kind of frustrate foster carers, which essentially is sometimes out of our control. But just being there for the foster carer to be able to express their frustrations is sometimes all they need. And my advocacy to be able to kind of put that across in any meetings, or essentially advocate for them if they need respite to kind of have a break, is something that I feel is a skill in itself, to be able to kind of identify that with a foster carer. I think you need a night off, or who have you got in your support network where you could just go for a coffee or go for a milkshake at night time, or have a weekend off. I think that's essential for carers that are dealing with children that perhaps are challenging, or just in general when they just need a break. That's key to just kind of seeing that, so that carers don't burn out. I'd like to think that my foster carers think that I am friendly, fair, update them as much as I can, and overall a really good communicator, which is what social work is. One thing I think that we can overlook sometimes is the foster carer knows the child the best. They're living with that child every single day. They're getting up with that child. If it's a baby, they're getting up at 3-4 in the morning. They're juggling so much. So their input in every aspect of that child's life is really, really important. On a daily basis, I see my foster carers giving homes to children that are warm, safe, and stable, something that they may not have experienced before. And that, in my eyes, is crucial to a child that grows up to be a well-rounded person. I think on a daily basis, our foster carers are delivering compassion, empathy, and trauma-informed communication all the time. Sometimes it's the smallest things that can make the biggest difference, and it can be as simple as a warm home, a warm meal, and a warm bed.